audience, but
Let me stretch this so far. Good thing I was never a roadie.
All set? All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the work session of the Ware Board of Selectmen. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to this republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we'll recognize Clay. He's getting the HDMI all set up here for presentation.
Get lucky here. Is there another, I keep switching back between HDMI and video.
We haven't had the best of luck over there. Usually we use that one.
Okay. We'll try that then. Yay. Okay. There we go. All right. Yes, my name's Clay Creasy. I am the director of the Ware Public Library, and I'm also joined here by Mark Carey, is the president of our trustees, and Tom Clow, who is on our foundation, our library foundation board. So anyway, this presentation was given as a townwide meeting about a month ago, and so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but for those of you watching online, and then for those of you who aren't at this, hopefully you'll find this informative, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of questions afterwards. But I think one common question we get, this is regarding our library expansion and addition. And always a good place to go to see the latest information about this topic is on our website, warepubliclibrary.com. Just at the top of the menu is the link for expansion, and I try to keep the most up-to-date information there. So one common question we get is, where are we in the process? And right now we are still in the define, identify, brainstorm, and selection part of the process. So we are still, basically, to keep it simple, in the design phase. So right here, this is S&P Architecture. They put this presentation together. Much thanks to Jason Lacombe for doing this. And this is like kind of long. You see lots of stuff going on. A long process. We are kind of getting out of the blue, out of the gray. We're moving into the blue area of design development. Last year we did a survey of the town. With that, the results of the survey, also speaking with our boards, the trustees, speaking with staff and other patrons, we put together a list of priorities. And at the top of the priorities, we thought it would be important to have a large group meeting room. The reason why is just because a lot of our programs are too large for the current meeting room that we have. For example, Lily Tang Williams, her presentation back in May was over 50. That was standing room. A lot of times when we know we're going to have a lot of people come, like we have performers in summer reading, we have to do that outside. If it has to, sometimes if it's a backup, we have to do inside, we can do it at the town hall, but that has no air conditioning, as you know. And also, so we need like a more convenient space to have a lot of these large events, not just for us, but also for the community as well. Wouldn't it be nice, like, let's say a selectmen meeting, if you could have it in a larger space? So that's something to think about. Also, like with study rooms, we quite often, because when patrons, they come in, they want a quiet place to study, to read. We have tutoring groups, chess groups, things like that, cards as well. And we say, okay, you can do it in the page room upstairs. Well, page room, we have, often we have teens in there because that's where our teen books are. We have people browsing. It's more of a space to, I think, to browse than for a quiet study, to be by yourself. And so that's why small study rooms would be very important. In addition, children's shelving and children's play area. So if you, if you're a parent and you have kids, and what are you going to do? Well, you can take them to the playground, you can take them to the park, you can take them to the lake, but what if it's raining? What if it's cold like it is half the year? What if it's snowing? What if it's too hot to go to the playground or do a sport or something like that? So we'd like to think that the library is a great indoor space for our community and for our children to come and and for parents to meet other parents as well. So we'd like to have a larger play area. And also with teens, we're right next to the middle school. And so when middle school gets out, we have a lot of teens that come over. And when I say teens, but it's earlier grades too, 4th, 5th, 6th grade as well. But a lot of times they have sports practices. But there's a gap between when they get out of school and then their practices are. A lot of times they have to wait for their parents to pick them up. A lot of times they just want to have a place to go, and that's why it's important that we have a designated teen space for them, and they're not just in the page room. So, and we do have some after-school programs sometimes, like a Tuesday video game program, but we don't always have time to staff and do programs like that. So, so it'd be good for them to have a place where they can come and not to worry about having something scheduled for them. And then, also for our staff, we need storage. We need a lot of extra staff space that we're lacking. So that's kind of further down the list of priorities. So we've had, in the last year, multiple meetings with the architect. These were public meetings where we took input from patrons and staff and other people, from the members of trustees and the foundation. And one thing is that because we have so many events and gatherings, often we have conflicts, and often we have to turn people down and say, nope, sorry, we can't do it this time because we're doing a children's program, for example. Right now we can do smaller events, like I was saying, in the Sawyer room downstairs or in the page room upstairs, even though the page room, again, is not ideal for a lot of these events. But wouldn't it be neat if this large meeting room, we could split it into two, and we could have up to 4 events and programs and meetings and gatherings going on at the same time. So that was an idea that came out of these design brainstorming sessions. Children's play area, we thought more table space would be good. And now we'll talk more about entrance in a little bit. So here's our current plot right here. It's about a little more than an acre. And right now, the buildings that stand there take about 10% of the space that's on the lot. We thought that when we're thinking about an entrance, we were going back and forth by, right now our patrons are entering through the north side, but we wanted to open up the south side more. Not only do you have the town meeting area, the gazebo, the center of town, as you say. Also the middle school, which I've talked about before. It's important for us to feel open and available to the middle schoolers as well. When we do have larger events, we often have to have overflow parking at the middle school. So people often feel reluctant to meet at the middle school, sometimes because the middle school is in session as well, but for like evening events, because they think, I have to get out and walk all the way around the building. And so we're kind of going back and forth about which entrance. Do we want the modern entry, the historical entry? And so there's our current entry that we use most often. Very rarely do we use the south side. We wanted to, anyway, and there is that buildable area in the middle. that we can use. And so here, this was one of the early designs that we had earlier. This is in it was like fall 2022, corner entry. We did like much of this layout. There was also a rival. We like this because it allowed for the purpose of having the north and the south side access. And you see, but the same door. So what we did, we combined these concepts, and I should give more credit to the architects. They combined these concepts into the design we call connections, and so now there's an entrance on both the north and south side. So patrons can use either one, whatever is most convenient to them, but it still enters, when patrons come in, they come into the same space. So that's not the final design, though. I'm going to try to keep this up brief. The lower level, we thought that it shouldn't feel much like a basement. The outside seating areas, we kind of went back and forth on that. We decided against that for now, but we could get back. That's a possibility going in the future. One reason about outside is because a lot of libraries have had mixed results with outside seating areas. Often they don't get used. So, and it's very important that our community room should be open for after-hours use. Yes, and south side entry. So this is the more refined version of the design here. This shows the way it looks on the plot of land. And this is close up. And I've sent these images to you through email, but if you can always ask me, I can send them to you again. And then in addition, you can go to our website, wearepubliclibrary.com. Like I said, click on the expansion link, and it will take you to these designs as well as a video, and which I'll show you in just a moment. So this view is the upper floor and the middle floor, because there's kind of like when you go in, it's kind of a mid-level. You go up half a level, or you can go down half a level. If you go down, and this is mostly the children's area. There's some staff area as well. So. This, I'm not going to go too much. We kind of debated about the way it was going to look. We weren't too happy with that one. This is more fleshed out with more detail. You can see we added a kitchen space. We thought that was important because just last week we did a cookbook group, and we would like to do more events that involve food as well. So, and a little bit of storage too, and so. And so this is we thought this one looked too much like a barn. So we like this one though because it blends in with the two other, the page room and then the stone memorial as well. So it's not so much of a clash. It has brick, and so I'm going to show you the video now. This is a 3-minute video, so it might be a bit of awkward silence. Let me see if where is. That's my son. He's not part of the presentation, by the way. See, I have too many folders on my desktop. Here we go. All right. This is a 3-minute video of what it would show. It was like a simulated walkthrough. This is from the north side. We're going to fly around to the back end. And now we're entering the south end here. This is the reception desk. We call it a circulation desk. So children's and adult books can be checked out of the same place. That way we only have to have one staff member at that desk. We don't have to worry about the person in the children's doesn't necessarily have to be at a desk, in other words. That's a lot of shelving. I don't think it's going to be that much for children's, which will be good because then we have more space for the children's, a play area for them. And then that's a reading cave, which is another fun feature that he added. This is also on the lower floor. This is what it looks like when you kind of go go through. This is what is now the children's area. This is kind of an extension, a little bit of view of the Sawyer room. And then this is, again, we're going through the north side entrance here. And I like this because this space lights up, so it's like a beacon of learning and knowledge at night. And we're going to take a right. Now, the community room doesn't necessarily have to be set up like this. Again, this is just one of the architects when they put it together. I do like, well, for one thing, it'd be nice to have a mural on this wall, but I like the view. You can't really see it too much, but from here, but there's a really nice view when you're looking out the windows to the gazebo and the middle school and you call it downtown area. And this is the teen space. Doesn't necessarily have to be set up like this. This is, again, just what their idea was. And so this is the adult books, the adult fiction, moving on to adult nonfiction. We have a separate desk. That's more for processing materials. We'll use that desk for, but it can be staffed as well. And then this is our current page room, and so it can be a nice reading room. And who knows, maybe we'll have the fireplace working again, huh?
Is he working on it?
The scaffolding's there, so I guess it's in progress. But he has until Labor Day. I need to follow up with him to see what he's doing. So he's put up scaffolding and left some supplies, but that's about it. So. All right. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Actually, not PowerPoint's PDF. That's pretty neat. You can do PDF presentations too. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the budget real quick. One thing to keep in mind, it's not just about, the budget's not just construction. It's lots of other things involved. And he made risk really big in yellow. I guess risk is a big part of it. There's furniture, fixtures, and equipment we have to think about. The final design and engineering is going to cost money too. And contingency, about $500,000 for contingency. Hey, it'd be great if everything worked out perfectly and we wouldn't have to spend the $500,000. But currently the estimate is $5.3 million. And that works out a construction cost at $330 per square foot. So, all right, so I'm sure you have lots of questions.
Clay, can you bring back up the aerial view of the layout? It was within.
Yeah, I shouldn't have closed
It was
that
within the
on here.
PDF.
Yeah. Is it this one right here?
Nope, keep going. Keep going. Right there. Whoop, back up.
No.
Next one. So
That one, okay.
you said that's
Yeah.
kind of the final layout idea?
So, yeah, for the most part, yeah. We've made a few alterations since then, yeah.
Okay. Was there any thought about trying to put the community room in between the young adults and the study on the Legion side of the building, on that side of the parking lot? To me, it just looks like it's very cramping of the stone building. And I'm not opposed to the project. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, it needs to expand. I just didn't know if, obviously there'd be the entrance way wouldn't change, the parking spots wouldn't change, but just moving that community room, in that kind of that little nook that's on the Legion parking lot side.
Right, we did have an earlier design that had it like kind of where the teen area is right now. I've asked him about that space. He said that space, for some reason with the roof, he had to do it. He had to, some roofing issue. Let me see if this helps. I don't know if this, maybe I can zoom in here. No, that doesn't really.
If anything, it was probably the aerial fly around that would help.
Yeah. So I can't remember his exact reason why, but there was where it would be very much more.
Some of the issue had to do with the grade there. The parking lot area is considerably higher than where the floor of the library is, the current level.
Okay.
What about putting that meeting room on the back side, on where the yellow is, on that
I
side of the
think
building?
the property line's too close, I think. Am I wrong in saying that?
How wide is that?
We'd have to tear down another wall, and so it would be much more costly to build something else in that direction. So I'm happy to ask him about if that is.
Not the whole wall, though, you just have to have an opening to go into that new section.
Right. And it's not that much space before you hit the trees, but, yeah, I mean, again, I don't mind asking him for, if that is an option.
I mean, I don't know what the distance is, but it looks like you're less than like 10 feet off the back of the Stone Memorial Building.
We're 12 and a half feet
Yeah.
from, yeah, that one corner is 12 and a half feet from the stone building, yes.
The other concern I have is that you've got parking area in the front, which would take a big section of the Stone Memorial Building lawn on the side where the Legion is.
Right, that, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, I think this is a slightly earlier artist conception. In the current one that we've been working with, there are no spaces on that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you put that meeting room over where you've got it, then we lose that section behind the building, because when we have, like, in August, we'll have Old Home Day, that area is used every time we do it.
Are you talking about the space between the,
Where that
Yeah.
green meeting room is, we
Right.
use that all the way. I mean, we probably use more than that, but we normally we set up right behind the stone building for the kids.
right, see, I've not been to an Old Home Day, and, I mean,
Well,
this is
we
like the
haven't
first
had
one you had one.
since COVID.
Right, so I,
First year back at it again.
yeah, so as far as the green space, I have the numbers on that. So with the additional space that we're going to take up is another, so on the lot, the total lot is about 46,000 feet. It's 1.05 acres. Currently, the library is using about 3,000 square foot. The addition, and again, this is an older design, so maybe this is not the best example, because you can, we're not using this space here. I don't know if you want to find, but that one's a little further, even though there's a little bit of this kitchen area that we added to. But, so we're going to lose another 4,100 square feet about. So if you can think of this lot is if you think of this lot as 100%, currently the library and the stone building is taking 9.5% of that lot. When the expansion is complete, that it will go down to the green space or the open space will be 81.5%. So we're losing about 9% of the total lot from this expansion. So I'd like to think that maybe you can you can still find space to do things here or here.
Well, we're using it. That's a big play going on this year.
Okay, right.
We're gonna use all of that, and all the vendors are gonna be on the other side of the road. And then we have raffles and artisans up on the
You're
side
having
of the
stuff
stone
here,
building,
too?
all the way around it. Yeah, right now. And then in the back, the
Right.
kids have bouncy house, there's some other stuff going on out there.
Right, and if I mean, I understand this is not going to please everybody, so we have to just kind of weigh it out. Do the benefits of adding community room outweigh the cost of losing this 9% of space right here?
Another concern I have, Clay, what's the footprint of that community room?
It's 1,000, almost 1,000 square feet.
So,
I mean,
so the north to south wall, about how long is that?
let's see if I can. This one has measurements, if I could zoom in.
It's probably about 45 feet, Ricky.
Okay. That's why I was roughly guessing.
I don't know if we can read that.
I guess,
I should have brought the plans with me.
I just,
No, I can't read that.
and Kevin, maybe you can step in, and I think that, to me, with 12 and a half feet between the two buildings, you have two roof pitches going the same direction. That's an awful lot of water to go in 12 and a half feet of area. And I don't know how you drain that out effectively.
Wet to begin with, it's still wet.
It's also only 12 and a half feet at the closest point.
Right.
And the wall fades away from the.
Right,
Right, but I mean, what is it, the south point, 25, 20 maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking it's a lot of water from two roof lines coming in there into that valley, that's never gonna see sun to speak of, because now it's gonna be shaded by two buildings. I think there's gonna be a massive water issue in there.
Well, they have it now, even when they put the addition on that's on the old library now, they've had water issues.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, but
I
we
think the water
haven't-
table's high there to begin with, but, I'm just thinking with, you know, if we get the unprecedented rains like we've had this year, we could be in some serious trouble between them two buildings.
Right, I mean, currently we're fine as far as drainage,
Right.
so,
Well, yeah, but we haven't assembled that yet. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah,
That's-
yeah, I know.
That's just a concern I have is between the two buildings.
Right, yeah, and I'll ask him about that as well. I know he is very drainage minded when he did the design, which is like
Well,
Mark said,
well,
why we couldn't put anything
yeah.
here.
Clay, I've mentioned it to you before. I too think at some point here in the very near future, a civil engineer needs to look at that piece of property. The 86 edition did have numerous problems with water that were addressed. But if you go back to the north entrance, even for instance, if you went to the elevation of the north entrance, I don't know if you can scroll down on the. You'd need to go to another image, but
Like this
it
one
would
here.
be the elevation.
Yeah,
These are all plan view.
they
You
don't
need
have
to-
the
you-
elevation, yeah.
Yeah, it's, okay, but as you stated earlier, the parking on the north side is substantially higher, and the walkway leaving the north parking runs directly down into the doors. I'm very curious how you're going to address the drainage on that. It was the entrance where the beacon of light walking in. The walkway goes straight down to a set of glass doors, and it's all well good in the picture. You say, oh, we're going to take it off to the right, but you're not going to take it off to the right in the winter, because you're going to have a 6-foot-high snowbank there at some point.
From shoveling.
The other issue is, and I think I brought it up the night that you had the meeting at the middle school, was that entrance that comes out right there by the Legion, that walkway. I almost got clipped there one night with somebody leaving the parking lot. They didn't see me. It was just getting dark, and if I hadn't have jumped, they'd have run over me. Now, if you got kids coming out of there at night in the fall, it's probably gonna be a safety issue right there, because you come down off that hill and then it drops down.
Well, probably if they've got the ground all disturbed anyways, it'd be in that $500,000 catch-all to put some lights out there.
Yeah, you definitely need some
You know, need
additional lighting.
some lights on that walkway.
That whole
Yeah.
traffic flow has to be looked at. But the civil engineering, Clay, is just, it's really, and this is from my experience in looking at this site, is you don't have any low point drainage. You follow me? We don't have any infrastructure for you to drain into, and you will be creating, as Ricky said, between the two buildings, a considerable amount of water. I'm in favor of this project. I'm in favor of an expansion personally, but I don't like the encroachment. I do feel like it's sort of a funnel alley look to it. I don't know how you can get what you want with that 100-person meeting room any other ways. You know, the objective positioning of it, it doesn't sit well. We're so used to 90-degree angles and everything being sort of spaced evenly, and it might just simply grow on us over time. But when you do show the elevation, that would be standing on East Street looking in, it does seem very funnelish, you know, it does seem to encroach
Right, yeah,
on the stone. So
right.
I don't know, the civil engineering part is the part I'm most interested in, and the other, as I've stated to you before, I think the north parking Legion area, that whole is limiting at best anyway. If you, once the tennis courts, and they say, oh, we might think about relocating the tennis courts, I don't ever see that happening right away, because that's just too expensive to do. So you've got the Legion going on, you've got tennis going on, and now you're building a room that can take 100 people for a meeting. And where are we putting them all?
Like right now, we have people parking at the middle school, and I know it's not ideal,
a long
but it's the
walk.
best, I know, yeah, it's the best we can It's the best we can do at the moment. There are a few, parking spaces right here as well. But, now the Legion, I think that's just Thursday and Friday night. Pickleballers, yep, they're pretty active. And I know, again, it's an issue, but it's an issue we have now. So making this expansion isn't going to change it as being an issue. I'm glad you brought up the idea of doing lighting, because a lot of what I'm concerned about in the parking lot is safety issues, is people backing out, because it is a very narrow space. And when you do have parents and kids getting in and out of these cars, and then people are backing out at the same time. But I mean, this is an issue that you have at any parking lot when kids are running around, like out of the grocery store.
Yeah, but a
so.
civil engineer will help you with that.
Yeah, good.
Okay, that's what they do. They do turning radiuses, and they look at the parking, and they look at, how things are gonna flow, everything from the traffic aspect to where the water's headed. So, yeah, I don't know, again, if you pull up the elevation of your north entrance, and when we're getting the 1 to 3 inches of rain an hour, I wanna know where it's going into that doorway, personally.
Right, yeah. And I don't know, were you able to look at the charts that he brought at the meeting last month? I don't know but I think he has an elevation, one of them has elevation on it, and if not, then I'll see if he can get it to you, so.
Yeah, I don't remember, I haven't seen a contour.
Yeah.
If I had a civil engineering plan, I would see a contour with elevations,
Right,
okay?
yeah,
So I would see the high point and the low point of that lot,
right, yeah.
but there's no contours on that.
No, yeah, these are all great points, and again, we're still in the design phase.
Yep.
We are moving into a fundraising phase as well,
Okay.
so.
The reason that I invited you or suggested that you come and see us is because the bottom line is, at least my understanding is, the acquisition of that piece of property that you whatever footprint you want to make has to get the blessing of this board,
Right,
okay? And you're pretty far along in the design process because, as you said, there's been 3 or 4 meetings and,
more than that, yeah.
yeah, this has evolved quite a bit. So the 2 major concerns are that you need to plow through before I think you spend any more money. My recommendation is, are you going to get the blessing with encroachment on stone? And do you have civil engineering squared away? Do we know where the water's going? Where are we going to have a puddle, a pond? And now all of a sudden we've got a flooded basement and we got issues. I mean, the window well on the north side is, you got to get rid of a whole lot of water out of that
Yeah,
window well
and he,
over the weekend. He's an architect, though.
Yeah,
I
okay,
understand.
all right,
I understand the
right.
2 differences.
okay,
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's done a fabulous job designing. It flows well, it looks well, it's sharp, it's clean. I really like it. But architects don't worry about water.
right, okay.
Do I understand correctly that up to this point, it has been privately funded, all of the design and everything?
No, the money, the majority of the money has come from the foundation, so the Ware Library Foundation, which was donated mostly by Ruth Jones, right? With the intention of expanding the library building or services.
Okay.
So they were I'm very thankful that they voted for the money for this design last year. But there'll be more expenses going forward that will have to come from the foundation or from the trustees.
But it has not been, up to this point, a modification to people's taxes, for instance.
Right, no,
Uh,
no tax money has been spent on this, no.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess as far as the statement that you should do some soul searching, I don't know the exact term, before spending any more money, well, it's your money, I don't really care what you do with it. I think you should, I'm glad that you're here talking to us
Yeah.
and getting more input, but
The money from the foundation actually can't be spent by anybody but the library.
Right.
Yeah, which is,
And for clarification, I understand that. I'm a donor to the library. I understand how it's being funded. I'm sorry if I grade the line there. But no, I'm just clearly saying, as a patron of the library and a longtime visitor supporter of the library, I don't have the time to attend your meetings, or I'd be saying that in your meeting, but I have your audience today. I'd take a look at where that water's going,
Right.
okay?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, so, okay, things may move, whatever. Let's pretend that the budget sits at 5 million. You wrote, but just for rounding's sake. So how would you anticipate getting to that 5 million?
Well, we have to find private donors, and before that, we're seeking a fundraising consultant. We've already spoken to one at our last trustees meeting, and we anticipate on speaking to more, and so they can help us. This is something that I admittedly don't have much experience in, and so they can help give us guidance on how to move forward in finding the funds.
And that, hiring somebody to help you raise money will also be coming out of library funds.
Yes.
That are earmarked for this anyway, with the intent of, in a perfect world, 0 tax dollar request at the end of this. But if there's a shortfall, if you can raise $4 million and you need another $1 million, that's what you would come and ask the town for.
Well, if we get to that point, I'm not taking off the table. But I mean, look at New Boston. They were completely able to fund theirs through private funds. It's not out of the ordinary. Quite frequently, if you put somebody's name on a brick or in a door or something like that, you can, and then you're able to find enough people. And, there is money. It's just a lot of times people, you don't see it because they don't, they live modest lifestyles, so. But, so we're just hoping that we're fortunate to get enough of those people to come forward, and so we won't have to, it won't be a negative burden on the taxpayers, yes.
And I mean, at that point, that's the reason the town has the trustees and whatnot, so that the selectmen don't have to review everything and make every single decision, so.
Yeah, I mean, you will have to approve, because this is your
Yeah.
land, so, and yeah, so, and I just, you're on my emailing list, so I'll keep you updated with any new developments. And like I said, there's also, please go to our website too, if you'd like to review this stuff further. There's an FAQ, but you can also contact me if you have any other questions, so.
Taxpayers do have responsibility as far as maintaining the building, though,
Yes,
after you build it.
Efforts donated.
So-
Heats and lights.
It's not a, it does over long-term affect the town.
yes,
At
that's,
a previous meeting, I asked the architect about it. This would have been probably December. And if I remember if you could please ask, but what I remember asking, his response to me asking that exact question was, given the shoddiness, for lack of a better word, of the previous expansion, the work that this budget would include would end up effectively breaking even on, with the solar panels and et cetera. The maintenance should hardly go up at all.
so our currently, like last year, we spent about 7,000 on heating, cooling, or basically heating, energy, electricity. I don't anticipate that will double because we lose a lot of energy through this older part, especially this room right here. It's 100 years old, has no insulation. That's where a lot of our energy budget goes. So if, it's going to have solar panels and heat pumps, what is it, what's the name of it? I'm just trying to find the right terminology for it.
I'm 100% on board.
Okay, it's going to have forced air heating, that's what I was trying to get to, yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it's going to have like a modern forced air heating, fiberglass windows, other energy saving features. So I don't anticipate that our budget's going to double. So even if it did double, let's say, which it won't, but let's say instead of 7,000, we're spending 14,000 a year. That's only like 6% of our total budget. So our total budget's like $250K. So an extra 5 to 6, 7,000 is not going to really. Yes, the taxpayers will have to cover it, but it's going to be very minimal. I mean, compared to other expenses that we have, and then, other town facilities and operations have, so.
You just need to get their vacuum faster.
Vacuum faster?
I mean, we're doubling the size of the building, so
Yeah.
it will grow, but that's not really the big concern here tonight. But
Yeah.
the reason I asked you to come is basically, is the town going to agree to take that extra, whatever it is, 20% of the lot to put the building on? And how are we going to deal, and just to make sure we don't create a pond between the two buildings.
Right, I understand, so. And again, I've been here this is 2.5 years. Unfortunately, we haven't had a water issue, but that's, like you said, with the new design, that could happen. So something we need to be careful about. So.
Clay, can you ask the architect to look at that and about putting that meeting room on the opposite side? Even if you've got to make it a little narrower to fit in.
Yes. Yeah, I'll ask him about it. For him to do another design, it'll cost more money, but, the.
If it's
the
even practical
foundations
with the property line, it may not even be practical with the property line there.
Right, yeah, so I'll ask him about it initially, and then, if he says that it's, it looks feasible, then, yeah, well, then it would be worth looking more into, yes, and maybe another design, so.
All right.
Okay,
Nothing's gonna happen fast.
No, big ship turns slow,
Right, yeah.
so, okay. Any other questions for Clay or Mark?
No.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, thanks for the invite. Yeah.
I hope we didn't make more questions than answers here, but,
No,
but I think they're all viable.
Yeah, no,
It didn't have to be said, so
Yeah,
it's gotta work for everybody.
there you go.
yeah, again, and just contact me if anything else comes to mind,
Okay.
Wake up in the middle of the night, oh my gosh, what about, that kind of thing.
Just wait till morning.
Don't call
Oh.
me, you can email me. How about that? Sitting down was way better than standing up, by the way, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna do this from now on.
All right, very good. We'll move on to the John Stark Junior Generals football discussion. Sure, please,
I didn't bring a nice presentation.
so the viewing audience can hear.
I brought Mike with me from WAC also.
Okay.
Just I know you were at the field usage meeting, so that's why I sent that email. Just to give you all an idea of the numbers that we're seeing, and I think Mike can probably talk to, just over the last couple of years, the sports in general have increased pretty dramatically. I've seen it in football. We have 73 tackle kids this year from 4th grade to 8th grade, and then we have almost 50 flag kids, which is unprecedented, actually, these are like Goffstown numbers. That's what they did for flag numbers. So just wanted you guys to have those numbers, so if there's an opportunity to put more multi-use fields in, just wanted you to have that information. That was the point of my email, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I brought Mike here because he does other sports. and-
No, from WAC. I mean, from the WAC side too, we had this past year, the most number of lacrosse players that we've had since we took over the program. We had almost 100 kids. We actually had to rent the field for the entire year at NEC because we just didn't have enough fields here. Some of it because the football field was
A mess, yeah.
unfortunately damaged, so
Yeah.
couldn't really use it and wasn't gonna make it any worse, let it heal. Our soccer numbers continue to go up. We usually have about 200 kids or so sharing 2 fields. Baseball, softball numbers again continue to go up, which is great. But it's good. Again, usually around 190 to 210 kids, usually sharing fields with the middle school field as well. So it's been lot of kids using the same fields over and over again, and they tend to get obviously beat on, and
So do you guys have any thought of where you'd like to put new fields?
several thoughts.
Mike has a lot of thoughts.
Several thoughts. So our initial thought, and I don't know where these plans came from, but I actually have a set of plans. I'm sure they're nothing official. I'm sure they're back of the napkin type of of things, but for redevelopment of Einison, to include 3 multi-use fields, a couple of additional baseball fields, more parking, trails, like the entrance would actually be moved to 114 and come up by the police station as opposed,
That's quite a parcel there, ain't it?
Yeah,
it's a good sized parcel.
56 acres, I think.
Yeah, that's that parcel across the street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of, I mean, that was always been our initial thought. It's probably the easiest and relatively flattest piece that we could somewhat develop outside of buying something else.
Right.
But,
In our park meetings, we talk about the East Road where we've
Yeah.
talked about the gravel pit, shooting range, et cetera.
I was gonna ask,
The question has been asked of me, I did not know the answer.
right,
Hey, how long will we use that for removing material from? Are we gonna have to turn around and put material back? To
yeah,
turn that
do
into
you
a
remember what the
field?
timeline was on that?
Yep.
Wasn't it like 15
It was
years?
10 years.
Yeah, 10, 15 years.
My problem with that is that is gonna cost millions to bring that to where you can, it's just been mined out by others.
yeah.
You'd have to halt. But there's hay fields out front the town owns. You could almost throw baseball diamonds on.
So honestly,
I
that
don't
would
know
be
why
like-
they're so hell-bent on going out in the gravel pit when there's fields
Interesting.
out front.
I had no
And
idea.
that's what I've always said about that place. There's giant rocks out there that you would have to, you can't even fathom the workaround out there to build fields out in the gravel pit area.
Where are these hayfields? Because literally,
You drive through hayfields to get there.
I'll go out there with my lawnmower and I'll mow the fields
Some of them
myself.
are private, but the ones in the back are
Yep.
town-owned.
I had no
I always
idea.
said that would be the place for a baseball.
How many acres?
I don't, the whole place is like 56 acres. I don't know what those are, but.
Because like in my head, and again, I'm thinking like really big pie in the sky type of stuff, but like the way I would sort of design it is instead of having a permanent fencing blocking off all the fields, like it'd all be like that temporary fencing, we take it down, and I'm even thinking like where Patriotic Celebration, move it there, bigger event, more people, bigger fireworks display, whatever. Like I'm even thinking things like how do we make it more of a community, not just ball fields, but things that anybody can use. And if that area is big enough where we can put, good amount of parking.
I don't
and-
know the area wise. I mean, Inison's a good candidate too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's good and flat, just,
Yeah, I mean, there is a kind of, when you go in down the left, because I think it kind of goes down the left and around the back, because I know you have the house on this side. I know it kind of goes down a little bit, but honestly, if there are hayfields that we just go ahead and mow and level out, like
All the
that's.
property lines are. but-
Yeah.
You'd have to get
yeah.
we'd have to get
yeah,
surveyed,
no,
yeah.
no, we'd have all the surveying done and,
We're just, we're bursting at the seams. We're
Yeah.
just gonna be using baseball field,
yeah.
for practices.
Yeah.
Just because we have
Just
over kids that I need
yeah.
to fit over there.
Is the field over on 77 being used?
Which field? Which
So, yeah, that one's used for, soccer.
Yeah, that's a soccer.
Yeah. Yeah, a smaller soccer field.
But you
Yeah.
can't use that for football or?
We need to be, well, we
No,
need
it'd
to
be too
have, kind
small.
of be centralized, at least for tackle, because all of our equipment is in that shed.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to access it. Flag, we can move up to the baseball field, because they just have a bag with flags and a couple footballs. We also want them to be part of the team too. We don't want them to be off on another field, like the forgotten few, but, yeah.
Something else we talked about at Park was, what we see other towns doing is if we could get away, maybe longer term, with one big site, then we're cutting down on
Right.
3 different
Oh, yeah, yeah.
irrigation.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
The different
Toilets.
buildings, yeah, the toilet, because, paying,
Yeah, they're all over the place right now.
I love going to Hillsborough's complex there, because everything is centralized, and I know they do.
That's nice.
Yeah, they used to do, I don't think they do it anymore, that balloon festival they used to
Oh,
do.
Grimes Field?
Yeah, Grimes Field.
Summerfest.
Yeah, at Summerfest now, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they're
that,
doing it. They're
Yeah,
still
they still
doing
do
It was
it.
this
that.
weekend. It was this past weekend.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a good
They-
week.
They don't have, I'll say they don't have football.
Right.
They actually come to here to play football, but you could put a football field on that field.
Yeah.
Because it's so big.
It is
Yeah.
large,
And-
it's a good
And that's
parcel.
like conceptually, like, because they use temporary fence, conceptually in my head, like, that's what I'd be looking at, this big open area where throw as many fields on there as you want, and pull all the fencing down. If you want to have another event, then we can do town can host another event there, you don't have to worry about
Right.
fences in the way. and-
There's still room down at Bolton Field to put in more, isn't there?
I don't know because I don't know where the property lines are in the back. Also, obviously, there's a lot of ledge, a lot of rock there, a
Yeah.
lot of slope. I think that would also be an enormous amount of money. Like up top, I don't know how far back in you can go, but I know there's a bunch of walking trails back there, and
Yeah.
I'd hate to.
It
encroach upon
sounds
that.
like Ineson's kind of I mean, with the exception of maybe, one or two where, on that east
The East
road.
Ware pit just is gonna be the same story as Bolton Field.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot to get it back up to
Okay,
up
yeah,
to
'cause I've
speed.
always been told, at least initially when I first heard about that eventually that was where.
I think that was the conceptual plan, yeah.
Okay,
but-
gotcha. But I mean, if we're talking millions of dollars just to put material back in it,
Yeah.
that's probably a non-starter for
Right.
for everyone.
But, yeah, I mean, obviously, what's the solution today? I don't know.
Yeah, this is
but
a long-term.
I think it's I think it's something that probably needs to be looked into
Okay.
as far as probably, like that Ineson section, like you guys were just saying. The only, my only thought is I think you'd have to go further up towards, with your 114 entrance towards the safety complex, if we were to do that, because it's pretty wet down there. We're at the end of Center Road, up towards the car wash.
Yeah.
Even starting to head towards the safety complex, it's always wet in there, so.
It is.
I think we'd have to stay at the north side of all that,
Yeah.
so.
And-
Somebody
and
brought a huge plan for it. There's a lot of town land if you had a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Just one field at a time,
Right, and, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
obviously build into the future, right? If you're gonna go out there with logging equipment and a dozer and actually stump it, then let's go plus 3 fields.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
And, and I'm happy to share. Like I said, I have no idea where these came from. I don't know who did them. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's just somebody who was sitting down, like, oh, roll something
Yeah,
together.
jot
I'm
something.
happy to share that, and conceptually you can kind of see like what we were looking at. If you all want to.
Is that something you can scan and email to us?
Yeah, yeah, it's already scanned in an email, so I can
Perfect. Yeah,
send it
email it
over
over.
and take a look, and like conceptually, that's kind of what we're looking at, and
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not opposed to ideas, that's for sure.
No, me either. It's hard to get off the ground. I mean, you guys.
Yeah,
As someone that had kids in indoor sports, we don't have enough of that either. My son
That-
played
that's also-
basketball. He had 2 hours a week to practice basketball. I mean,
that's
how can you play
also
basketball?
on. So as part of
Just money,
yeah, as part of those plans, we actually include in there a building for that.
So,
Like, not as big as a dog.
The one in Goffstown?
I would love to find a place to
so
put one of
somebody could
those.
come up with a plan,
Yeah.
a piece of property somewhere.
Yeah,
Incorporate all that, you might have a selling point, instead of putting a baseball field here today and a soccer
and,
field over there.
and even if you
tomorrow.
end up
Then
closing,
you'd
say,
have
the
a
one on
centralized
Salmon Road. right?
Location that you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, with the consolidation factor.
and that's what would exactly happen, or they'd just become practice fields.
Right.
So that way the good fields don't get used, and
Yeah.
like the field on like Pierrington.
Yeah.
I mean, that's over an old landfill.
Yeah.
And we've looked at having irrigation put in there, and they're like,
Don't touch it.
don't even think about the, like, you'd have to go down really deep, and even then,
You don't want
it's
to.
probably gonna smell the entire time, like,
Yeah.
all right, good.
Yep.
I redid the one on Salmon Road and it's over a landfill.
Is it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
No, this town's in need of that. I would be in support of a rec center. I always said I have been, but getting it off the ground's gonna take somebody with some thinking.
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. I've been toying around, I've been sharing with Jen here some thoughts I have about fundraising, about, even quote-unquote selling naming rights to the field, so like,
Yeah.
Company X field
Going to a
at
special every fun type
Ineson
field.
Athletic Complex or whatever, and like a 10-year lease, 20-year lease, whatever, and try to use that to entice people to.
Yeah, could work.
Do you still go to Henniker for football
Do we go to
practice? Yeah.
Henniker? No. No, we
So
only
when
have
we
Bolton.
first started the football program, for the first few weeks, I think we started, I don't remember what the rule was, and when you started, it was about August 10th to 15th.
Yep.
And for those 2 weeks, the Ware children went to Henniker. And then once school started, they moved the practice to Ware. Because they used behind the Henniker Community School down below.
Okay.
And that's what they used for practice for 2 or 3
Those-
weeks.
the
And
summer
then,
program, yeah.
and then they moved it because that's when you do your 2-a-days and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's at Bolton. We're making it work. We have quite the schedule figured
Yeah.
out between the 3 tackle teams and the 6 flag teams.
Yeah, and I think the thinking at the time was that we're a joint team,
Mm-hmm,
and Henniker always has to come to Ware.
they do.
So we could split the difference, and at the first few weeks of the two-a-days especially, is start out in Henniker, practice the first few weeks in Henniker, and then, not that it was an equal swap, but it felt better about it. But that's
Sure.
what we did at the beginning.
It makes it tough with the equipment, because usually that first week, even though they're not wearing full gear,
Yeah.
they're constantly swapping
Yeah.
helmets and pads and stuff out if they're not working, but, this year we're using Bolton the whole time, but
Okay.
it's an option to think about for the future.
Okay.
Okay.
Certainly
Stand by,
appreciate your
stand by, stand by, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'll,
No.
I'll send those, what I have.
Okay.
Again, obviously nothing official, just back of the napkin type of stuff
Yeah.
that somebody put together almost 10 years ago, but
Okay.
I'll share them and maybe it'll jot ideas or.
And we're happy to continue to give you our registration numbers and information.
Yeah, it'd be good to know, at least that way there we can see, obviously, it's an upward trend, but,
It is.
Yeah.
Which
It
is good.
is.
It's
which
good.
is, it's good, yeah.
It's
I
good.
mean, I only have 80 helmets, so. I
Yeah.
have 73 kids and I only have 80 helmets, so. That's my problem, I gotta buy more helmets next
Yeah.
year, but we bought 25 new helmets
Right
to
there.
get rid of 20, and still need more.
Still need more, yeah.
How much are those helmets?
Each, I don't know, but we bought 25 helmets, it was $5,000.
Yeah, they're a couple $100 a piece.
Yeah.
They're a lot.
Well, think about what you're protecting.
Yeah.
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 Right, and they have to be so every other year, they have to be sent to the
Certified.
manufacturer and refurbished.
Certified, yeah.
And they're only good for 10 years, so we're getting to the point where like every year for the next 10 years, I have to replace about 10 to 20.
I'm surprised they're good that long.
Yeah.
The amount of hits they take, yeah.
Hard hat's only good 5.
They get thrown out if they look pretty ratty,
Yeah.
but, and a couple of them were like 2013s, we could have used them, but we chucked them.
Yeah, you're right there at the cusp, yeah.
We got new game pants this year, so they look really sharp with the navy blue and the jerseys, yeah, they look really good, and the red helmets, of
I
course.
say, I may go watch a game just to
You
see.
should, they look
Yeah.
sharp.
Just to see the tire,
They
Yeah,
look
exactly,
sharp, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so. All right,
okay, thank you.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you guys.
So it sounds like the answer is it's likely not feasible, but I was asked at the last park meeting, how does park move forward on the East Road site plan? So,
I think that it would be, that might be a site walk, to see, the fields that, Benji's talking about. It doesn't sound like the actual gravel operation is gonna be feasible monetarily,
I just don't know where you'd put them. I know that was always the saying, but I
yeah,
don't know where you would possibly put fields out there.
yeah.
So rocks.
and what you're, like Ina said, it sounds like a good plan. I just, like, the question came up, and
Right, and that's what was brought forth. I remember who brought that up, but yeah. I remember years ago, Inison was talking about coming in off 114 up by the safety
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah, that sounds like the
The quickest
soundest
route would
bet.
be an emergency exit.
Right.
Like, yeah, because and I totally get it. Like, I know the residents on that road would be concerned about the
a lot of
increase in traffic, and
Right.
believe me, I totally agree. And that's why it would become
And
an
there's
emergency
a
exit
Bolton
only.
plan floating around here as well, as a master plan of the whole building. I mean, the whole build-out down there. There is a plan.
Interesting.
Oh.
It could
So
be
there you
worth
go,
talking,
see?
I say, I would love to see that too.
could be worth
I think
talking
the
to
building
conservation,
department, I think
We
if you
just
went to the building
want
department,
that
they would
piece
have a
up the
copy.
jump
Okay.
start, so.
Yeah, I have some ideas for the football area too, so.
All right, well,
can you just loop park in, I guess, when you're emailing?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great.
ideas are flying.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, brings us to the solid waste. Okay. So Ben did come up with one. Kind of took a little bit of everybody's, by the sounds of it. Well, ours and the other one that we focused on, which was Guilford, is that correct?
I took a lot from Francistown.
Yep.
A few sentences come up with my own, just experience working there. And a little bit, I suppose a little bit from everybody, yeah. Probably Francistown fit more than,
Others.
because a lot of them were curbside pickup, you know, so you really had to decipher.
Where we were at,
Yeah.
where's,
Because there weren't many residents going to facilities curbside.
right.
So you have two drafts, right?
Yeah, and then Kevin came up with one,
Right.
and, I took a little bit from that.
Kevin, this was, no, that's it. Which one was yours, Kevin?
This one looks like this.
I don't have that
I'm
one.
looking at that one.
I've got Guilford and
I got this version of it.
mandatory town of
That's the same one, right?
Yeah.
No.
This is the one I got from you.
I think Kevin emailed it after the last meeting.
Oh.
This one.
Oh, is it not in order, maybe?
Did I not put it in order?
The opening page should say solid waste ordinance.
Yeah.
There,
No,
I don't have that one.
I
I don't
didn't.
know why.
So I do have yours. Oops.
yep. You want to make you a copy, Ricky?
If I can find it electronic, did you email to us?
Yeah.
I'd like a
Solid
copy
waste area
though,
right there.
'cause I don't have it for some reason. I've got 3 other ones here, but not that one.
No, you have, what you have is, you have the ones Naomi gave us, and then I
Yeah.
sent the draft, but this, I sent this well over a month ago, I think.
Maybe
You
I
got Kevin,
didn't
I
see
mean,
it.
I don't care.
Yep. You got it already? Okay.
Yep. And most of mine is stolen from Newbury, I think. I found it.
I'm good.
And you got one?
I got one, yep.
I'm all set.
This-
Well, Ricky's gone. Just, how does everybody feel about trying to keep the work sessions strictly work sessions, opposed to adding?
Well, I definitely think they ought to stay work sessions.
Yes,
So eventually we'll get the work done with.
it's, in other words, maybe avoid bringing people to this meeting, and we originally said we were gonna limit the meeting to 2 hours,
Right.
right?
I don't think we've had a 2-hour meeting.
No, and I actually agree with that. I mean, I think eventually should, some of the stuff that's needed done,
Yeah.
to get done and go back to the way it was, but
Yeah,
they're
I
never
think- I
gonna
think we
if we
should
keep
plan
having
on-
public meetings,
Sunsetting these.
you know,
What I'm saying is,
I agree with you on that.
when we draft the
Unless it's
agenda,
an
when we-
emergency hire perhaps, other than that.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure people don't get used to weekly meetings that are, they can
Both.
come to.
Yeah, right.
I think- And, yeah, my intention, like, people think I'm joking, I'm not joking, I think we should go back to the way it was forever, of meeting every other week.
Right.
Yeah, there's stuff we need to sort out, that's fine, but
It shouldn't last forever if we
Yeah,
can keep our work
once it's
sessions
sorted
work
out.
sessions, you know what I mean?
there's some key elements that are still missing. A year ago, almost to this day, we set the date to do our annual reviews of our department heads.
right, and that's what I'm saying, once it's sorted out, I think we
Yeah.
need to make sure we don't just keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding and.
No, I agree, but once we get these job descriptions, and so that we can, if we don't have something to base the evaluation on.
Well, that's where I'm lost on that. That particular thing I'm lost on, because forever we've been able to do those, and people have done their jobs. Now, all of a sudden, nobody knows their job, and if we write it too specific, you're writing a union contract, which they can say, you know, it wasn't spelled out in my job description, where, I don't know where they got lost in the, when I was hired, I had a job description, and it basically said that I was, you know, a truck driver and I'm gonna do whatever else the boss told me, and that's, you know, in more words, but.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of if somebody is, we hire someone, for instance, and they commit to, and the job description says they need to be certified in X, right? And they're gonna be, that's gonna get done within the year or 6 months. Just so that this board rolls over constantly. You know, you have a real familiarity with what goes on, right? But someone walks in, they're cold, they need a starting point, right? So they need to say, okay, the DPW director is supposed to be certified in X, right? Supposed to be able to operate X, supposed to have a CDL of X, right? So is this person, do they have all those qualifications? Are they performing all those tasks? That new person, because next year, for instance, this board could be completely different, right? And they could be for people, probably the first time ever, we have someone sitting on the board that's lived in town for less than a year, right? We could have 3, 4, 1 year, you know, familiar with the town. They need,
September's my break-even point.
they need that information. They may not have a Ricky, or a Sherry that have that tenure that they bring to the table. Okay, so that's the reason for having those documents.
Right,
Available to
they
them.
were there, I don't know where they went and why we're rewriting every one of them, they were there.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the original, not the,
The solid waste, right, and I don't disagree that a lot of stuff in there still pertains, but it's a little, that's when it became a transfer station from a landfill.
yeah, this is 92,
But,
91,
I
92.
mean, these job descriptions that we're harping on, I mean, some of them, but I don't feel like we're,
It was for department heads.
yeah,
That
like,
was
I
all
don't
the-
feel like I know enough to write a job description for a police chief, or, you know, I didn't put a whole lot of work into Naomi's, because I don't know, you know, I know highway and transfer station, but,
Right.
and I don't know as a board, we have enough experience to write all of those.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna mess them up either, and they're used to be them, and I just don't know where they ever have them. Job description in particular.
if
This
they-
ordinance, I don't disagree that it's
If they
probably
are all,
gonna be-
if they are all there, it's really just getting them all into one place that we can review them, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're getting closer.
Yeah, we
I
are.
mean,
Okay.
you got
So
one.
Ricky, while you were gone, we just had a discussion about trying to limit our work sessions to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And try to limit how many visitors we have,
Maybe
Okay.
emergency
number of people we
hiring.
accommodate.
Yeah, I thought that was
I
kind
can
of.
tell you why this got messed up.
Yeah.
Because I had asked, they had asked for an appointment, and at the time, I didn't know we were skipping the 3rd.
Well, and I don't know if we're necessarily harping about tonight, I just,
No, that's
Seems
how
like
tonight's,
every
no,
work
I've been
session.
trying to push
Yeah.
people off to 1st and
Yeah.
3rd, but because when we missed it, I said, oh God, the 3rd and the 17th, so
Yeah.
off of
Yeah.
that.
no, that's fine.
Yeah,
And we don't have a terrible amount on tonight, depends how long
No.
it's been on this, and then, but it's just, I don't disagree with that, because someday we ought to be able to get caught up, I would think.
yeah, oh, yeah, we're just so far behind, and I stapled this wrong, sorry.
Thank you.
So I guess let's talk about the-
Before we dive all the way in,
Yep.
because Kevin, you said you gotta leave at 8:30, and I think we should save some time for these, right?
Yeah,
So how much time do we wanna save for these?
I think that's gonna be pretty quick, honestly, but the other thing is too, with the camera, we can't just go out and come back.
I know, that's what I'm saying, like, before,
Yeah.
we hit, like, is it gonna be 8:15? Like, if he's leaving at 8:30, we should pick a time and say, okay, we're done with public, talk
Yeah,
about these.
That's
I
fine.
think for the whole board, I wanna get on the solid waste, I put a little effort into it, but for a whole board, I didn't know you had to leave, then.
Yeah,
The public works director thing's important, and apparently
Yeah.
we have something new that may be of
What?
contingency that we ought to, if.
yeah.
I mean,
no.
we can, we've been since 1992 without one.
And I don't
so-
wanna put it off, I'm just saying, I didn't know you had to leave, and I think the whole board ought to discuss this and the others if there's a time limit, that's
Sure.
all I'm saying.
Sure, I mean, I'm fine
to
with,
your
I'm fine
point,
with
Salem.
tabling this, and Ricky, you can take a look at,
Yep.
because you didn't have, obviously have an
Yep.
opportunity.
Well, let's not
And-
table, let's just see how the time goes.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll just.
Or we can
see how
come back
time
to
goes.
it.
Yeah, come back to
Yeah,
it.
that's what I
That
mean.
work?
Shuffle the
Okay.
deck?
All right,
Yes.
all right, so we'll go to the, I think probably the timber sale discussion.
Okay.
We'll just go, kind of go down the line there.
So
There was a letter submitted to the board, by Hopkinton Forestry and Land Clearing, just basically questioning the process in which, the timber harvest at the Felch Farm was selected.
and I can tell you exactly by looking at it.
Yep.
It's because, and I guess the intent was different, but it probably was not known, that there was zeros put for access, recreational, and and because it's a highly viewed piece of property, I know that this was a big deal. And you have anywhere from $3,500 to $10,000 worth of work, and one company put zeros. And that was an important part of the bid.
Right,
I guess reading the email that they were going to do it for free.
right.
Yes.
That's hard to believe, but
Well, just to,
that
I
was the
did
reason.
I did attend the Conservation Committee meeting, and we did discuss, we have numbers that go from, as Ben stated, we have one bidder at 9,500 and 500, we have another bidder at 2,500 and 1,000. The numbers were a bit all over the place, so I inquired why. And evidently, there isn't a clear description
Right.
in the scope, in the RFP. And without there being a clear description of, i.e., there's a foot of gravel, this many feet of shake off, 2.5-inch crushed, whatever it was, I don't really know, I'm not familiar with it, but, so Hoppington basically threw a number at it, carried it in their number, and didn't leave the line item blank, left it as zero cost. And wasn't questioned why at the bid opening, which wasn't a public bid opening also, which is another topic.
Yeah, that to me is the bigger topic with this.
Well, that's been going on right along, that we have not been opening up the bids.
Well, even if we as the board didn't open it, as the Board of Selectmen, I still think it should have been the Conservation Commission.
Conservation should be doing it.
All right, excuse me, you're on that board, I forget,
Well, and that's
yes.
fine, but how many years has that not taken place?
That doesn't mean we continue to do it.
Regardless.
It doesn't, but now it's a big deal all of a sudden.
Well,
Well,
I
it's
think,
only a big deal because any public bid opening is supposed to be a public bid opening.
supposed to be
Right.
open
Well,
at
let's
it's
send
on
it
public.
back out and do a public bid opening.
It's on public, it's foresting public lands.
So before we get into big detail, Conservation met last week and would like, they basically pushed the brakes on this, nothing's been awarded.
Okay.
What they want to do is jointly meet with us at the time,
Okay.
then the forester can come as well.
Yeah.
But I say jointly meet, they'd like us to attend their meeting in August 9th.
Which is,
So
what, they meet
before
Wednesdays?
we second guess anything, they
Yeah.
had the same, wanted an answer and have the forester there
Yep,
so that they can answer the questions, as to why.
yeah, I don't have a problem with going to their meeting.
I won't be here, so.
I just, again, I think there's a couple things that are out of order here. I think the cart's before the horse on a couple of it, on a little bit of it, so. No, and that's just it, I think obviously
I
all
don't disagree,
all
maybe
players
this
should be in
goes back
there.
to the policy thing, right? But for 15 years, we've been hiring a forester to do it.
That's the problem. We don't have a signed contract with forester. That's one.
That's the other thing too, is we don't have a signed contract with them.
How come?
And anytime you've done a public bid, remember, for your trucks or anything, you and I or Beth and you opened them, but they all stayed and could see the bids.
Yeah.
This, no one had an opportunity to see because they
And I'm-
got to a private place in New London. They were opened sometime, and the next day, a letter was, thank you
Kicked
for
out.
returning
And
your
I'm
money.
not saying maybe that ain't how it ought to be, but I have bid federal government jobs for the tracking station, which is open in another state, and it's not done any different. So I'm not saying maybe town of Ware doesn't decide that we do it different, but it's not that it's underhanded. The federal government doesn't do it any differently for timber sales. It's not, the state, when you bid on state work, doesn't do it any differently.
Well, there may not have been any malice in it. I'm just,
Now
I'm
we're
not saying
gonna do
there
it
is.
different than
Yeah.
what the norm is, I guess, so I guess maybe that is on us not, for not conveying that, because that's not how timber sales usually go.
well, I think
I know
it's-
that it was decided inconclusive because of the zeros, and
Right.
that maybe was a misconception on that part.
It was also mentioned in the meeting, they didn't go into great detail because we decided it was an appropriate time to talk about it, but there's other criteria. That was quoted by Steve Nadard, that there's other criteria why they were rejected.
Okay.
So that was what we said we wanted to get cleared up.
I think before we go down a rabbit hole too far, I think we ought to have this group meeting,
Yeah.
honestly.
They put it for August 9th because that night, Mr. Turner will be coming to them to do his quarterly or half-a-year update.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect timing. So August 9th?
Yes. Do you have the manifest? Because I do not.
I do.
Naomi, what'd you say that top number was? Because under HFL, because you can't read it, that thing was stamped through it.
Top number, I only have the total, 67,965.
67, okay.
It looks like 61 and change
I couldn't
for,
read.
for the white pine.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, there's a big, yeah.
Yeah, they stamped through that, so
Stamped through
it's difficult to see.
It should
Just so everybody understands them are estimated numbers too. I never understood why,
Yeah,
that it doesn't mean that that's the fixed number.
no, it's just
You
estimated.
cut
change.
under or over, it'll be different. It's the per thousand number that,
Okay. So it sounds like it's gonna be further discussion on
Yeah.
August 9th.
And so I understand, so it's that times that, right?
yes.
All right, so let's put that
So
above
Sherry-
that pile.
Those numbers, just so you know, on these sheets where the breakdown is, you take the board footage times the number.
Right.
And that's how you could get to that, whatever number you're looking for.
Yeah, it was just that. I thought maybe Naomi had a better copy.
only have
or
the
clearer
bottom.
copy.
No.
All
I
right.
did the same one I have.
Same one you got, yeah, okay.
All right, we'll roll the manifest off real quick. Order the treasurer to sign payroll accounts payables checks dated July 20th, 2023, as including the following manifest. A payroll manifest of $81,654.13 for weekly payroll, and accounts payable manifest of $62,457.27 for a total of $144,111.40. Is there a second?
Second?
Moving second, all in favor? Yes. All right, so we did that one, nope, goes that one down there. There, killer. All right, want to do the non-public open of the applicants? The only thing is, if we do that, we can't come back to the TV.
What do you want, what time you gotta leave, Kevin?
8:30?
8:30.
It's
You
10
wanna-
out, 10 of 8.
You wanna spend
So I.
10, 15 minutes just talk about the ordinance?
Yeah.
I think we should.
Yeah, okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
That way
8
if we're
o'clock.
gonna.
Yep, no, that's fine. Yeah, I don't foresee a whole lot of time on the applicants.
No, me
I mean, I see some, but not a whole lot.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's that one, we don't need that one, we need these two. Three.
So I looked at everything you guys had provided for samples and looked at Kevin's and thought of a little bit of my experience of actually working up there, and I'm sure there's plenty of things missing in it, but wrote up a real simple one. And Kevin wrote up one that's a few more pages, and so I didn't know if anybody knew where I wanted to start. When it comes to an ordinance or an ordinance especially, something like this, I'm a firm believer in keeping it more open than some of the towns. Some of them are very specific on the exact recyclable and exactly where it went, and that changes with markets so much that every board is gonna have to come redo this ordinance, you know. One time you do plastic, next you don't. Who knows what'll be recyclable 3 years from now? Something we probably don't even think about. And, so things like that, I didn't list in mine because they come and go, I guess.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
Same as the burn pile. We are not going to be able to burn someday.
Right.
They've been telling me that for 15 years, probably another 25, but someday. So I left that open. I did put burn pile in there to kind of copycat, but
The biggest question I had, Benji, was you had under unacceptable materials, commercial waste. So, because that's something that is acceptable in our existing one, residential, commercial, institutional, and industrial establishments, as long as it all comes from the town. So, I guess what,
I figured that would be the biggest topic for all of us probably, because that's what we've been trying to
yeah, just-
decide what we wanted to be, I feel, right? Kevin, I think we've talked a lot about that, is, you know, we let businesses, don't let businesses, I know like on hazardous waste day, for instance, right? There was a business in town that had massive amounts of floor cleaner that they would bring. We made them wait till the end of the day if there was any money left. But they'd bring gallons and gallons, we didn't want to use up the residential side. But that was hazardous waste day, that's not your everyday trash, so,
yeah, the question for the contractor, the business, is if they're not doing business, if they're doing business outside of the town, and at the end of the day, their trash ends up here.
Right.
well, but when it says commercial waste, I'm thinking like Country 3.
right, that's what I was
Like-
thinking of that.
Like,
Up-
they
like a
pay their
building
taxes
was
just like
like-
all the,
No, I agree, but that's, I'm just getting back to what Ben, the statement, why this was something that we wanted to address or make sure that we now are sending the building permits, for instance, to the transfer station so that the attendants can identify where it's coming from, if it's being generated in our town. Yeah, if it's a legitimate business in this town, they have access to our facility, as long as the trash is being created, again, here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's never been a question for me. I do.
right, but that's why I asked Benji.
Yeah, sorry, didn't quite understand the question, but
Well, why does it say commercial waste is unacceptable material?
I guess I did kind of steal that, and I thought that was a question, I guess. So I did copy it, expecting discussion.
I just don't want to
I do believe like a
disincentivize
country three or
businesses.
mom and pop business should be able to come. So that would definitely be something I'd be willing to.
What about
I don't know
commercial,
what that covers, I guess.
commercial waste generated outside
Right.
of town?
So, I mean, our
Well, it
current
says right
word,
at the very beginning paragraph that it has to be
generator.
generated in our town. And if it doesn't, we need to add that.
and
That
but
way
like
it
our
covers
current
it.
wording, I think is not bad. All waste, garbage, trash, rubbish, refuse that is now normally disposed by or collected from residential, commercial, institutional, and industrial establishments originating within the boundaries of the town.
Yep.
Basically, like,
That is
where-
pretty good.
That is pretty good, yeah. Yep.
And if you want to make it more generic, like you say, we can leave off all, like, and just say, trash from this town, you know? Waste.
I did expect discussion on that, because I wasn't really sure what that statement blankets when we did read it, you know? There's a lot of commercial waste that wouldn't be able to be disposed of in our town. I guess I was just thinking of large amounts of certain things, and I don't know. I don't even have a good example, I guess. You know, somebody that,
I get where you're coming from. That's one of those, I
No,
would
you-
rather solve that problem if it comes up. Like, we have Frank come in, and he's like, hey, somebody keeps dumping, you know,
right.
I was gonna say cardboard, but that's a net positive. I don't know. They keep,
I was thinking of somebody, opened up maybe a side tire business, which wouldn't be the size of some of the local tire businesses, but enough to be outside your normal
yeah.
and bring it, but I guess.
But if they're paying for it-
inside and they're paying for it and we're not losing money, I guess nothing to do about it, so. Maybe that's just something we take out, right? I fully expected
Yeah, I
somebody
mean-
to comment on that.
If, none of it would, Sam, tell me if you agree, none of what would be generating in any sort of a manufacturing type of facility or at a lumber yard would be going into the municipal trash hopper.
It would go into something with a revolving fund.
Do you agree with that?
A lumberyard?
Well, anything,
Well, the plastic wrap that comes, I mean,
Then-
what we're saying is, it's not household trash. The only thing that is supposed to go into the municipal
Well,
trash hopper is
What's
household trash.
supposed to is what we're writing.
What's that?
What's
whatever-
supposed to is what we're writing now.
Right,
I
but
mean-
by state law.
If Country Three Corners sells
Well-
lumber and they take the wrapping off a stack of lumber and it's plastic and they bring it put it in their hopper and it comes up to where, we've got to accept that.
Yeah,
They're a
but
taxpayer.
exactly, as demo.
The
Just
plastic wrap?
I
plastic
don't think
isn't
the
demo,
plastic wrap
plastic
or
would be
anything.
going in your regular.
boat
dump.
wrapping, which we can use as an example, because we don't have one of those in, to my knowledge, anyway, one of those businesses in this town, but that's a good example, of some communities, you get massive amounts of that.
Yeah, come springtime.
And what do you say, they're a business in town, and so I think you probably let them, is what I'm saying, I guess, but, and I think those communities that have it, they actually recycle it, because there's recycling.
Yeah, but
For town of Ware to recycle
I guess
something.
I disagree because from reading repeatedly, the municipal household trash compactor is supposed to be limited to municipal household trash.
Yeah, all right. I can see that.
as
So what do you do?
described.
You turn Country Three, say.
No, you don't turn them away. You say over to the left, please,
You run them over the scale.
that we don't have
That
yet.
we don't have, yeah.
And put it in the demo. Because, I mean, I was just up there this weekend, and Frank told me that somebody was bringing in black trash bags half full of cow manure to put in our hopper.
You're not supposed to take animal waste anyway, so.
Well,
Animal waste
I,
at
no,
all.
I understand that, but I'm saying, this is,
Find out.
Well, you knew about it.
he smelled it.
Had it open?
He smelled it.
He told him about
He
it.
smelled it and then opened one and said, dude, you can't bring that here. So,
Why would they even do that? Doesn't even make any sense.
gotta get rid of it.
Put it up.
That's what he was told. Gotta
They
get
do
rid of
cat
it.
and dog litter all the time.
Yeah. So to me, it's, what do you do with, if that is just one instance, what else is going in there that really shouldn't be in there, right?
Well, people that have a cat would have cat litter. Is that not allowed?
Supposed to.
Not supposed to.
So what do
Let me tell
people
you
do
about my
with?
first day before my first day. I started on April 16th was to be my first day. April 15th, I get a phone call. The trailer got rejected, and a whole line of New Hampshire DES vehicles escorted it back to the Ware transfer
So
station.
it's radioactive.
And we dumped 45 yards of material out on the ground because somebody in town has a cat with a thyroid problem, and before they go into the vet to have a test done, they give it a pill so that it shows up on the screen. And they kicked
I
it
remember
out.
that.
It happened twice. So, not only is it just, if you ever close a door on a trailer, you'll notice that cat litter is always what's stuck in the door hinge, and it's gross for the employees. But twice it cost the town of Ware
Mm-hmm.
for this radioactive pill. Now, we found out who it was because there's only 2 vets in the entire state of New Hampshire that can issue this pill, and it only came up because it was only during the testing, but that's why we don't, supposed to allow it. But how do you catch it in the garbage bag? That's one of those things, you write the rule, you're not gonna catch them.
Oh, yeah, no, you're not gonna catch it, you're right, and
No,
I'm
you're
not.
not supposed to have it. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
But I think to Kevin's point, is that considered household waste, household municipal waste?
Cat litter.
We're now questioning. So the plastic wrap or the boat wrap, that's not from the household. So,
that's if that's a business, but what if you go get your boat and bring it home?
and bring it home and cut it off? Yeah, I know, I understand that. I get it, but it's, to the point, it's not household waste which is what's supposed to go in the hopper.
So,
Well,
So-
I think there's a lot of people in town that have cats that are
Oh,
putting
I'm
that
not,
in there.
I'm not
well,
saying
there
it's
is,
not
but it can
happening, I'm
still
sure.
be in the rule saying not to.
Correct.
We could have caught the person.
What do you
who
want
was.
these people to do with this cat litter? And
Throw it outside.
out where?
I had 4 dogs and my mother had umpteen cats growing up and not once did we take anything to the dump.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, can
and we can argue, you guys can change that. I put mine and someone has changed trash trailers and got that stuff in my teeth and followed 2 trailers back and signed off for the Board of Selectmen for the thousands of dollars it cost for Sizemore to haul the trailer 4 times.
Right.
Because they had to haul it there, back there. And DES's business, I'm all set putting in the ordinance, no. Are we gonna catch them? Probably not. 99.9% of the people are gonna throw it in, but I'm not okay with it. And you can argue animal carcasses till you're blue in the face. You're not supposed to throw a dead chicken in. You can throw your, of course, you can throw your Thanksgiving turkey. And I think there's those things, there's certain things you put in there so it covers you so you can't throw a whole cow in. But obviously you're gonna let Thanksgiving turkey go
Well,
in.
that's a
You know what I
good,
mean?
that's a really good example, is, so we get
You have
a
to have
guy
it
who
in
opens a small part-time butcher shop in his backyard, okay? That's a freezer. I mean, I use these guys all the time. And they generate a lot of carcass waste. And that is not permissible to go into our hopper. It's generated at his home, but it's, per state law, it's not allowed to be put in there.
No, we had a taxidermist.
I have got to see that state law, because I'm not finding that. So, I know we're not going to be finalizing anything today, but before we talk about it again, I've got to see that.
Okay, well, go ahead. There's, if you go to, there's pages and pages
Yeah, I
and
mean,
pages.
it's RSA, it's the 149M that is quoted all over these, but.
Yeah.
I don't like
I
that
read
animal.
149M
And it
before
doesn't-
reviewing
It
these.
doesn't read municipal household trash.
Not that I could find, but,
Well, how about read the old ordinance?
but again, we're throwing this out, we're making up whatever rules we want.
Well, the old
We can
ordinance-
decide that
yeah,
that's
we're using this-
prudent,
use
but-
this as a
But I
guide.
don't think it's fair to say, we are not allowed to, because we're making the rules. It may not make sense to do that, but I don't think it's fair to say that's the starting point, because we are deciding on a starting point.
I think for me, for commercial stuff, I think we're gonna have a conversation about that.
I think that's a bigger
Animal
one.
waste, I get my vote.
Yeah, no, I,
Get
yeah.
taxidermists that leave stuff in barrels for months and weeks anyway and
Ugh.
comes in and it's,
I don't think that should be allowed.
well, you have to have that's what I mean, you have to have
A cut.
a cut. And then somebody comes in with their Thanksgiving turkey and of course you say, okay, but if you don't have it in there and they bring in the dead calf that was stillborn, well, it's not in your ordinance. It's not that somebody would call you out on it, but I had someone bring their cat that they had put down and it was still warm. I just,
Something wrong with
I
them.
said, I'll take care of it, and I took it, and when they left, I went down back with the backhoe and dug a hole and placed it in. I didn't throw it in the trash, but you ain't supposed to let that in there. The Wheelabrator has a fit when certain things like that come through.
I can't blame him.
Front and center.
Yeah. Do we, well, let me ask this, you just bring up a good point. Does Wheelabrator have a list of what they consider deem acceptable? That comes from the trailer? That's who's taking our stuff for the next few years. If they have a list, that might not be bad to use that as the Bible for the hopper.
That may be what binds us, and
Uh,
okay, then it
right.
doesn't matter what we write.
And that doesn't matter what we recommend, it's what's gonna be taken. If it's not, if
Yeah.
Wheelabrator says, no, you can't put
Right.
X, Y, Z in here.
As far as on the unacceptable.
No, that's not, Ricky, I don't agree with you because the state defines what is a municipal and
Well, I'm not disagreeing with
disposal
that, Kevin.
facility.
Yeah.
Wheelabrator dumps demo dumpsters, burns demo dumpsters. Okay, so they'll tell you can take a mattress, but state law says you can't put a mattress down it.
Well, it might just be a good guide. I'm not saying I mean, I did say use it as the Bible, but, I mean, it'd be good if they say, no, this is exactly what we do not take, X, Y, and Z. All right, well, now we know we can't put that in there.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
just
it
like,
wouldn't hurt.
Salem, just like the state law tells us we have to provide this.
Yeah.
We
I- no, I
have,
agree with that.
we
I
have
agree
to
with-
manage,
no, I
yeah,
agree with
municipal
that.
waste.
It's a fine line of
Yeah.
what's unacceptable, I guess. I like the mattress thing. I don't know, like, a lot of them go there, because your demo places don't accept them. The only reason we're sending mattresses now is because the demo place we chose
Takes it.
takes it. The last one we had did not.
Correct.
So they went in the trash.
Yeah, and which, again, that gives
I know we
fluid,
don't have much time, but I guess the opening argument, right, was the commercial or industrial or not. We, I knew that'd be discussion, and I'm okay with taking it out, I just,
Let's build a
what,
scale.
what do you, huh?
Let's build a scale.
Little scale. So what's that?
run it across a scale.
Put everybody across the scale.
Well, it's fine, but I mean, we're not losing money on that anyway. It'd be easier for the argument of the guys, and someday we need to have one when we get a better facility, but that's, we don't have an issue with losing money up there.
We lost 6,000 last year.
No, because it rolls, you have the end of the year.
Yeah.
We've never lost money on the demo if you roll it over, if you take the whole 12 months. Usually we're in the green a little bit, but, and I'm not arguing someday we don't need a scale, but when we figure out a facility, you know where to put it so you move it again. But,
That's the biggest thing, is finding where
I
to
mean,
put
I
it.
hear people saying, oh, I paid for it in 6 months. Well, you were a damn poor estimator, because
Yeah,
we've been in the green for years on that.
right.
But what do we accept, what goes in that trailer and what goes in the trash is the argument, I believe,
Right.
for the ordinance.
For the ordinance sake, yeah. Right. All right, I think we're gonna move on to, the,
Before you go non-public, can I just, I've got things I wanna send down for you to sign.
okay,
And I was just gonna note them,
okay,
okay? There's, this whole package I'll send down,
of,
our eviction notices for our 3 properties. There's 6 originals to 2 of them and 4 originals. You'll see them here. They all
Yep.
need your signatures on them.
okay,
Then there is a cemetery deed. I sold a lot today, and then there's a junkyard license, and the franchise cable
okay.
I forwarded to you. So while, I just wanted it noted that what we're gonna
Yep.
sign,
Yeah, we'll sign that as we
and that's basically all I had.
coverse here, so.
Do we have to sign the agreement with the state?
Well,
Not
I
this
didn't
week.
have that because we have to have a longer discussion. I think Jason should be here.
Yeah.
Because Jason and I and Kevin had that meeting on River Road Bridge talking.
Is that what we're talking about? River Road Bridge?
Yeah, oh, you were here too, sorry. Laura sent back a reply, and to most of my understanding was what I raised was, you know, we have to fund it up front. And are we aware of that? I just, before we hopped into that tonight, I figured next week, you know,
Yeah.
you could do that.
Yeah, that'd be good for next week's topic.
Right, other than that,
Okay. All right, so we'll sign those as we discuss the
Who's
candidates.
gonna reach out to Wheelabrator and share that list with the rest of us?
You ever been to Wheelabrator?
It's quite a place. I drive by it every day,
I've never.
They burn a lot of stuff.
2 or 3 times a day. I don't know if it's something they,
Is
Is that up in Bosquen?
yeah, off exit 17.
there a contact number?
I don't know if there is or not. I'm sure that there is
Well, they must
somewhere.
have a number.
There's gotta be a phone
Is
number
there a
somewhere.
live person there?
Ben, do
Like
you have a number for them?
Not anymore.
Maybe Frank could reach out to him. I'm sure he's in contact with him. Just send Frank an email and say, hey.
But maybe.
Be a good start.
Yeah. Oh, or he might have a contact up there through the co-op too. You never know.
Is there just one on this? How many?
Yeah, that's
On the cable TV? Yeah, just one signature.
I guess I could have marked it. Oh, you.
What's that?
I said, look, you, I flipped through it for 5 minutes. Flipped right through it.
I just wanted, there was one.
Sorry, I should have marked it. We'll put the page on top.
Sorry, Ben.
The eviction ones will take you the longest, because Kevin, you have to undo each one.
Okay.
Southwest Station didn't make it.
Speaking of, can we add, Chase Park?
I don't see why we couldn't.
Like
But
if
that was a pretty big discussion we had and it's not on here.
So if we're gonna kick it back one more time, how does the board feel about adding Chase Park to the list of sites that we request drops from Comcast?
I'm okay with put it on.
Yeah.
I think we have a terrible reception over there, don't we?
Well, so right now, they just got internet from Granite State, and the question was, it would be nice to be more competitive. It's very expensive. So,
Where, do you remember what page your 150 was on?
It's Article 3, wasn't it?
Article 3.
yeah, it should be 3-1.
This
Three
was
one.
a disaster. Tell me what they're total? This one,
3 properties, but there's 16,
16,
300 feet, 300 feet, 300 feet.
because they have
Okay,
to
so I
be
could
6
change.
individual for 2 of them.
All right, I'll sign it.
That's all right, I mean, I can just hold and send back a note.
Well, I mean, we discussed it. That's my only,
So, where that fell through is you discussed it, and I've never gotten a clean copy, I think I forwarded you that copy. Which is when he forwarded you on the 20th.
right.
And then she showed up here last week looking for the thing signed, and I said, no, it would be Monday night.
Right.
I was expecting a new document, but I didn't chase her, and I'd be happy to chase him.
Okay.
But I don't mind adding Chase Park.
Yes, no, maybe?
I think it's worth. It's not pressing.
No, I mean, we're out already,
Still
so,
getting the franchise fee.
yeah. I have to sign this on the backside, under
I
his,
usually have,
under his state
I usually-
application.
On the state one?
Yeah.
It usually goes-
On the town, I'm sorry, town aware. Selectman's
Usually
office.
goes to,
Signature applicant and then signature selectman authorized rep.
Chip used to, but,
All right.
let Tony do it.
Do we want to leave that as Tony?
Yeah,
It's
I
fine,
did.
I'm good with that. Okay,
It's the same one he's always had.
it's fine.
You only have 2. Because you have, Allied will be in soon.
That was Allied, so Bob should be in soon.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Ware Bunny Frame.
Right.
So those will take a few minutes, I mean, there's 16 things to sign, so do you wanna get started?
Yeah, we'll get started we'll go in the
I
non-public.
was just gonna bring up, that we, I think between police and highway, there's been a few more people move on to other things, and we said we were doing exit interviews for everybody. Have they at least been invited? Sure, some will decline.
The last
Yeah.
highway didn't want one.
Yep.
We had, I think we've got 2 or 3 highway, right?
Laura,
I mean,
we can
I'd
call
be
and
happy.
find
yeah.
out,
We've had
yeah.
at least,
And then,
and I know the reasons for it, I don't, because the amounts, just there's, I thought there was 2 highway.
I mean, I know there was 2 police, and then the last highway that I've seen a resignation didn't want one.
right,
I thought-
I mean, I can reach out to the 2 officers that left.
yeah, if you could.
Well, we had one retire, which I guess that kind of answers the question, and one move on from that.
Has he left
Right.
yet?
I don't know.
I haven't seen
I
the
haven't
letter to
checked in, to be
retire.
honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't seen the letter to retire yet.
Okay, I haven't
Yep.
checked in with them at all.
And then I'll ask for one more. Last week, you're gonna see in the July 10th minutes, when you hired the part-time transfer station attendant, there was an error. Error being a dollar amount. The finance administrator brought it to Jason's and my attention. Jason went up and talked to the gentleman. And we hired him according to your minutes at $18.50 when the part-time rate is only $17.30.
Oh, okay.
So Jason has gone up physically and talked with him. He worked Friday. He came down and filled out his paperwork at 17:30, and he was fine with that.
Okay.
So we need to make sure in the
Remove.
July 10th minutes, when you hired him, we have to make that correction.
Okay.
Because you're gonna see next week's pay that it's at 17:30.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty,
Yeah, Jason said he
Yeah,
was
hi.
too confused, highway and transfer station.
Okay.
It was 1865 or something.
All right, as we're still signed down the line, I'm gonna move that we go in non-public under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2B. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Yes?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll be adjourning afterwards.